Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com.
George, it's just the way that you go from your, this is going to sound like a bit of a dig, but that you go from maybe your world-weary, dour expression when we've been talking about, all right, we're good to go, let's talk about these stories and blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, all right, so you good? And there's just this moment where you go from just everything is awful, hello darkness, my old friend, to then just up to happy, and then it starts. It always makes me giggle.
It's almost like he's got a performing arts degree or some sort of performative qualities about him.
I don't understand.
It's because I'm a goddamn professional, Tom. I take the darkness and I push it deep down inside, okay? Deep down, to where nobody can get it, not even my therapist. Okay.
Podcasts don't care about your feelings.
Exactly. You got to bring a happy face to the show. You push it deep down inside, and then you fucking go because I'm a goddamn professional, and it's go time.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we've all been doing this week because it's now lockdown 3, return of the lockdown.
Lockdown 4.
Lockdown 4.
Lockdown 4? Is it? No, what is it?
Lockdown 4. 4.0. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Were so bad that I've forgotten how far along we've got. It's like
Lockdown 4, the search for Curly's gold.
Yeah, the
cast this time's changed a bit in this one.
That's true. The recasting,
the
of our benevolent dictator was an interesting twist. They clearly needed to revitalize the franchise, and they thought, you know what, let's get some new blood in, and he is going for it. I am loving the acting premier's energy.
The way that they wrote him out of the series sort of between seasons was a bit ham-fisted, spinal injury. It seems a bit far-fetched.
I guess if you would fall down the stairs, it's not really it's such a cliched thing, right? Falling down the stars.
And it was off screen too.
We didn't even see it.
Sort of just in the yellow title crawls, we just got the "a broken spine" in all caps, and then the Rebel Alliance has lost its great leader. We're like, oh, that would have been a nice thing to see.
Just a broken spine.
I mean, maybe we'll get one of those sort of in between movies that comes in and fills in the gaps. But I mean, the other thing is that the way they've recontextualized it now is they're really going hard that the big bad. I mean, we knew it all along. We knew it all along that the big bad was actually the federal government. But they're really going for it and being like, this is the big reveal now. And we go, oh, actually, no, it's the federal government. They're the bad guys.
Yeah. Much like Emperor Palpatine, the federal government is back somehow. Yes. And that's what we're going with the movie. It's more explanation than that. No. They've just always been there.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously... can I keep this analogy going, or are we stretching it too thin? I can't.
We've got a solid minute going so far. Let's go for broke.
It's not too late to turn back.
Obviously, it's been shown now that, the real evil is the fact that the vaccine rollout has basically not occurred, whether that be through incompetence or negligence. No one will really know.
Adam, you're not paying attention. Okay, the vaccine is going great. Okay, so obviously they're on Channel 7 News on Sunrise. Greg Hunt, Health Minister, was saying, he had the question put to him. She says, Minister, only 2% of the Australian population has been fully vaccinated. And he says, no, that's not true. It's 20% of the 40% that I'm counting has definitely been vaccinated. And so that's fine. That's what it is. Of the eligible adults.
Okay. Yeah.
So 20% of them have received
in the figures as well, mate.
One dose. No. You're not you just gotta let me. 20% have received one dose, and therefore 40% of the double overture means that we've vaccinated the whole Australian population. High degree of difficulty. I award myself maximum points.
Did you carry the one?
Second.
Did you carry the one?
Yes, I carried all the ones. Right. Many times.
So obviously we're back in lockdown, and
just to clarify, that journalist was correct in that at that stage only 1.9% of the Australian population had been fully vaccinated, which is to say that they've received 2 doses of the vaccine.
Yes, that they have had both their injections.
Because as soon as they were like, yeah, we're locking down and you guys should probably get vaccinated. This is in Victoria, obviously. Just Victoria's lockdown at the moment for 7 days for a circuit breaker. All of a sudden, like I think you called it in our chat, like midway through the press conference, the vaccination website crashed.
Oh, crashed.
The hotline, you can't get through on the hotline. Like everyone's just gone, fuck.
Yeah.
You just love it as well that it's only through a hotline. Like, you have to pick up a phone? Like, online bookings, mate. Like, these...
I used to work for a company that shall remain nameless that does online medical bookings. Like, the technology exists. You just need to, like, roll it out at a large scale. This is not something that we should be building, you know, as we shouldn't be reinventing the wheel on the fly during a pandemic. Maybe go to the people that have the doctor booking service and say, hey, could you do some more doctor booking things for us, please? Like, it seems like a pretty straightforward solution there, but...
To get boomers to use technology is pretty hard, George. So, you know, I guess they're sticking with the old-fashioned
They seem to be really good with Facebook and their whack opinions.
Yeah, that they seem to have mastered.
Use technology, my ass. They use it all the time.
But brown paper ticks for vaccinations, they can't seem to fucking get their heads around it. Ticketek have had the technology for 30 fucking years, but somehow we can't manage to book. Okay, all right. Somehow still haven't managed to figure out fucking online bookings, get this cunt at this place at this time. Somehow that still eludes us.
George, I mean, not to then flip-flop over to be on the boomer side of the argument there, but if you tried booking tickets for a gig anytime recently, it's a nightmare. You're refreshing your cart, suddenly the tickets are in your cart, and then they disappear, and then they have like pre-sales for the pre-sale of pre-saling, and it's just...
You have an account. You've got to have an account to log in before you can buy the ticket. That's the thing. You've got to have it all logged in. So
you have to also have an account. Yeah, you have to have an account to even know that the tickets might be being pre-sold ahead of the pre-sale. So there's that too.
The expertise is...
My Chemical Romance tickets is my point. No, I was kidding. I didn't actually try to buy them. Because everything gets cancelled because suddenly lockdowns kick in.
I'm gutted about it, but I miss My Chemical Romance.
Should we actually clarify like what's actually happening in Victoria? Because I suppose we're probably going to ramble about it.
Sure.
We've gone into our 7-day lockdown because I don't know if we talked about it on the show previously, but a couple of weeks ago, a person who spent their duration of 2 weeks in hotel quarantine in South Australia, the state that's next over from us, returned home, tested positive, so they'd done their 2 weeks and all that sort of stuff, but they turned out to be a positive case. They somehow passed coronavirus to another hub of people, and I don't think they've gotten that mystery case yet as to how it got from the person from Wallet, I think is where they were from, the Wallet person to another cluster, but then that cluster has just started to grow and grow and grow. It turns out the people who got infected in this cluster seem to be A, the most social, and B, like to travel a lot. Because looking at the exposure sites popping up, it's like, they were at the gym near their locale. Oh, that's okay. Oh, they went to what in Bendigo? It's 3 hours away. And it just kept going. So we've now got something like 150 exposure sites or something like that around Victoria. So yes, they put it on.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go indoors. Yes. Don't go outside. Don't go anywhere. Just
does provide
masks always. Yeah,
it does provide an excellent opportunity to be like slightly catty about other people's social lives and activities, though, which I really appreciate because I'm like,
oh yes,
I went to a beer festival a week ago, and that's the only place I've been except for the supermarket in 3 months. But apparently, this guy is, looking at half a dozen places, or he's looking all over the globe for a barbecue, and I hope he found it.
Oh, the guy in Sydney. Yeah.
So I'm just like sitting there sort of quietly judging, going, it's a pandemic. Don't people know better? Why are they going to all these places? But like...
There are 10,000 people currently isolated, so there's going to be a lot of exposure sites. The MCG was one of the exposure
so that's
sites.
that's exactly kind of what we've learned from this is we've seen like how quickly, because people were quick to be criticizing the contact tracing program, being like, why haven't you figured this out sooner? When they say, hey, you know that once we've gotten like just this cluster, we've got what, 30 cases, I think they've been confirmed to be connected to it. Like from 30 cases and the combination of the exposure sites therein, there's at least 10,000 people who they are contact tracing. Like it expands to something that large, that fast. And that's been the lesson of this situation here, is that while we all talk about like how Victorians smashed it last year, we did our hard yards of hundreds of days in lockdown, blah, 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 we've like beat the virus. It's how fragile that is. Like I know all the times people ribbed on Dan Andrews for being like, it's all like how precious what we've built and da-da-da-da. He meant it. Like he meant it, because one guy coming from South Australian quarantine into Victoria, having passed all the checks, like had done the 2 weeks and all that sort of stuff, like going through the process that we thought was acceptable, we'll get back to that in a minute, managed to bring the virus in, and we're seeing it potentially just unravel again.
Yeah, just it's literally
everyone has to get vaccinated.
That scene at the end of a zombie movie where they're setting up the next zombie movie, where like one guy, he's gotten out of the area, he's feeling a bit unwell, and then he looks down and he realizes he's bit, and he's like, here we go again. And then it's the end of the movie. Like
the last scene in the Army of the Apes, I'm pretty sure, is that where the pilot, his nose is bleeding, and he gets on the plane.
I was going to say
in which film,
the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, the first one ends like that, I think.
Yeah, well,
literally the last I was going to say, like, what zombie movie ends with someone being like, I've been bitten? Alrighty, well, that's cool, I guess.
No. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, oh, no, here we go again. Like, it's all going to start all over again somewhere else. Like, that's the ending of every zombie movie, right? As you realize, shit, we thought we got it all, but we didn't get it all. Like,
another.
Spoiler alert, Army of the Dead also ends that way.
Boo! I was going to watch that, you prick.
It's good. It's still worth watching. It's not good. It's good because it's good.
Wait, it's a Zack Snyder movie, but did he write it?
No, I think he just directed it. I don't think he wrote it. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, usually his movies are good if he didn't write them.
So it's not good because it's good. Like, it's not going to win any Academy Awards. It's Dave Bautista. But it's thoroughly enjoyable.
People are through taking careful steps.
All right, well, back to the pandemic.
Seatbelt.
You're all good?
Oh, you there?
Yeah. I couldn't hear you guys for a sec. Yeah, I just got the warning that my headset's running low, so that's why I'm getting cables and plugging it in.
Anyway, so
amongst yourself.
That's thanks, mate. So obviously that case got out of hotel. It wasn't even our hotel quarantine. You could see all the federal LNP conservatives getting ready to fire up the Dandrews cannon and start having, sticking the boot into the Labor government here in Victoria. But it wasn't our fault. It was a guy, it was a hotel quarantine in another state, and then the guy came here and kicked everything off.
And it was a liberal state too.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't...
What's funny though is that they did, there was a period 2 or 3 weeks ago where they were worried about it. And then it was like, there's no more cases.
It seemed okay. Yeah,
cool.
It's because...
Let's everyone go to the football. Let's all go to we went to a big festival. Let's go, all these places.
It was because the person...
It's been bubbling away for the last, several weeks.
It's because the person who was the mystery case that's connected from that guy to this new cluster was probably asymptomatic. And by now, they're fine. So it's like, how are they ever going to find out? Yeah, it's wild. And it just goes to show that...
Just the timing of how some guys open some doors in a hotel in Adelaide, shuts another state down. That's fucking crazy. When you
that's
think
insane.
That's so insane. That's so much could hang on so little.
That we're still doing it this way. I get the hotel quarantine system a year and a bit ago because they needed to set up something fast.
Yeah, where they're like, quack, quack, quack. It's my first day.
Yeah, but then, we got to set up some kind of system fast. But then we already had, escaping from hotel quarantine issues previously.
Right.
So we should have done something about it by now.
Literally been over a dozen hotel quarantine breaches that have led to some sort of state restrictions.
Maybe they should have invented actual quarantine areas where the people can't just breathe into a corridor and infect someone else.
Tom.
Meanwhile, Scott Morrison
you know how you're thinking about it? Don't think about it.
Meanwhile, Scott Morrison's flogging off the whole, 99.99, like it's some fucking Dettol commercial. Like it's 99.999.
99.999 effective against viruses. Except the one time that it gets out, it fucking shuts down the state. It's not like, you've got a bit of egg on the countertop, you go, well, it's 99.9% effective, so you should be good against any E. coli that springs up. It's like, no. The one time it gets out, it ruins the country. Like, that's how fucking virulent this thing is. Like,
Well, I mean, the federal government's been very combative about dedicated quarantine facilities. Never mind the fact that a lot of the repatriation flights are now going to Howard Springs, which is a dedicated quarantine facility.
Yeah.
So now they reckon that they're very close. They're very close to the Prime Minister signing off at another sort of what they're calling a village-style quarantine at Avalon Airport in Victoria. But the condition is that we still have to run the other 99.995% effective system at the same time. Now,
I guess that village style, is that still like, you can all just hang out, go around the campfire. Oh, there's bingo on Wednesdays. It's like, stop interacting with everybody. That's the point.
It's not village. It's the village in that they're secluded in the woods and they don't know modern society has continued on without them.
Right.
AKA
and there's
the
fake red hood monsters. Yeah, there's fake red hood monsters out in in the wilderness that are, being all like, don't get the Rona when they ring the bell and creep in. Yeah, that movie could have been really good. Anyway,
could have been. It wasn't. It really didn't explain like helicopters or planes. I feel like really at all. But that's what they're thinking. They're just they're gonna stash them all out in the bush somewhere. I don't know why it's so hard. They're like, oh, we need purpose-built facilities. There need to be medical personnel. It's it's going to cost $200 million and it's going to take 9 months to put together all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, can you cunts just get some shipping containers and put them out in a field somewhere, get some fucking demountables, and let's just fucking do this. Why are you trying to pay off your big, the top end of town who run hotels? Like,
what's funny?
Just get some fucking, get a toilet block and get some fucking beds, get a couple of nice tents, get some space heaters and put it in a fucking field. How hard is this to do?
It's almost like, it's like there's never been another, international crisis or crisis in Australia where we've had to create a facility really quickly, potentially offshore, which uses the army to construct certain facilities like you've just described.
It doesn't ring any bells.
To keep people in a certain location to stop them going elsewhere.
So what you're saying is the solution to our quarantine issue is that we should commit a laundry list of human rights abuses and get condemned by the UN.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, we've done it before.
Great. All right, sick. Let's go for broke.
Scott Morrison got a trophy for it.
Turns out the Australian government
I don't think if you make yourself a trophy, it counts as getting a trophy for something. Like, I could award myself a trophy for fucking anything, and I don't think it counts.
It is funny that the argument for not using the detention centers at Manus Island and Christmas Island, these sorts of things, the argument against them is like, well, they're not humane, so we can't use those facilities. They're inadequate. And they're like, but they're perfectly adequate.
That's our point.
That's my point.
We've been saying that for years.
Up until very recently, they've been very adequate for all the brown people we were trying to put in there. But okay, for white people, I guess not. They're not adequate. They need a jacuzzi. But
yeah, it's totally fucked.
What day are we now? We're day. Is it 4?
Day 4? No, 3. Friday was first day of quarantine.
So it's 7 days.
Lockdown. Sorry,
we're quote unquote lockdown. We're still getting 4 to 5 cases a day of community transmission.
Yeah, all our American listeners are just like,
wait, 4 to 5,000?
4 to 5, and you've shut down your entire state.
45 cases per day.
They're all like, I'm already vaccinated, and we had like hundreds of thousands of deaths. So calm down.
I don't think it'll be more than 7 days. That's my.
Of course it will.
Yeah, no shit.
It's totally going to be more. They only said 7 days, so as there weren't riots in the street.
Hot take from Adam Doreen. He reckons it's going to be longer than a 7-day lockdown, which of course it is. Because
the minimum incubation period of the virus is 14 days.
Yeah.
They think, like, this dude who came to Victoria from South Australia did his 2 weeks in quarantine and still somehow tested positive, right? So
I reckon it'll be 7 days of hard lockdown and then maybe another 2 or 3 weeks of sort of stage 2, stage 3 type lockdowns that we've had in the past. Masks. I don't think we should ever have given up on masks indoors. Like, I think that until we're all vaccinated, until there's at least 3% of people vaccinated, fully vaccinated, that, like, it's just, this is a reality that we're going to have to live with. There's going to be outbreaks. And, if we're going to allow people to mix and be indoors in large groups together, they should just have to wear masks. And that's how it's going to be until a sufficient portion of the populace has been vaccinated. This is how it's going to be.
See, maybe really we should just invest in the NBN, cut our losses, and just become Wall-E people. Like, let's just become like big gelatinous blobs in our floaty chairs, and we never actually like go anywhere or do anything. Sounds all right.
We're doing this.
Just do that.
We're doing this whole podcast virtually. I would argue we're already there.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like, let's just like never have to ever leave the house ever again.
Do you remember in June last year when Adam's like, I reckon we could start doing the podcast together in person again?
Would.
A year ago.
Maybe not now.
In June last year, he was right. Yeah. And then in August, we had lockdown 2.0. So, you know what? In that brief window, we probably would have.
For 3 weeks.
It was mid-August to like late October.
No, it was July.
There was a period. I remember being like,
it's my birthday and I'm locked down.
There was a period of 3 weeks towards like end of June, July last year where we're like, hey guys, finally coming out of lockdown. Things are going great again. It's going to go back to normal.
Yeah.
And it's like Ron Howard's voiceover going, things were not going back to normal.
Anyway, so George, you've put up an article here from Greg Hunt backtracking. It sounds like the government's got some mixed messaging, which isn't helping as such.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Greg Hunt is Greg Hunt is the federal health minister, for context.
So what's he done? He said, follows comments, Greg Hunt made on ABC on Thursday morning that anyone uncertain about the AstraZeneca vaccine, there will be enough of Pfizer's mRNA vaccine, which would sound...
To clarify, this is an article that was from the 20th of May. So it was about 10 days ago. There's a couple of weeks ago that this happened. Where he said that there was a... So essentially the message... So I'll just quote him. Quote, right now we want to encourage everybody over 50 to be vaccinated as early as possible. But we've been very clear that as supply increases later on in the year, there'll be enough mRNA vaccines for every Australian. So what he's saying there is, we'd really love for you to get vaccinated. But if you don't want the Electro-Zucchini Vaccine... that we're giving to the fucking plebs, the shit cunt vaccine for a bunch of pricks, then you can wait and you can get the Pfizer vaccine at the end of the year. And so guess what? Vaccination take-up rates have been fucking horrendous because the government is actively discouraging people from taking it because of their concerns about the AstraZeneca blood clot situation.
Where now everyone's like in a mad rush to get one and you can't actually get one if you're in Victoria.
Now, everyone's rushing to get them, but we're in a situation where people are still being discouraged from taking these vaccines. And, and the messaging from the government has been, not just from Greg Hunt, but also from Scott Morrison saying it's not a rush, it's not a race, it's not a competition, like slow and steady wins the race. Multiple times he's been caught sort of saying these things. But and then now, in the wake of obviously the latest outbreak in Melbourne, people are like, as you say, rushing to get the vaccine. But like, we've lost weeks and months in the meantime where people were sort of trying to do some vaccine shopping, going, no, I want the Pfizer. The Pfizer's better. I'm going to wait. And to the extent that it's happened in my own family, people that I know have been cautioned by their GPs to not get the AstraZeneca vaccine, to wait for the Pfizer. And which seems like contrary to all
ridiculous
medical sort of sense. But
especially because like AstraZeneca's reputation as the blood clot one, quote unquote, is like really unfounded in the sense of like, while there have been cases of the blood clot sort of thing, I've seen statistics thrown around. I don't know, statistics can be manipulated, as we've seen Greg Hunt do. But like, you know, women are more likely to get blood clots from taking the birth control pill.
Oh, way more. Yeah.
Like in the statistical likelihood sense. Yeah. So let's not panic.
It is pretty minor. Like which isn't to say that like getting blood clots and dealing with blood clots isn't a serious issue. But like
super serious.
Like that is something that we should be aware of. People with existing issues with blood clots should be like aware that this is a possibility. They should be on the lookout for signs and symptoms that something like this could be up, and we should be ready to treat people who show these signs of blood clots if they do show up. But that's not an excuse to like just, I don't know. I'm so ready to be back to normal. I would take the AstraZeneca vaccine in a fucking heartbeat. And yet there's people who I know that are eligible, who are in a high risk category, who could take it and who have chosen not to take it because, the doctor says it'd really flare up my anxiety taking the shit vaccine. So I don't know. It just feels like a case of like selfish fucking boomers that like have everything. And I don't know. Doesn't that just sort of like reek of like the ultimate kind of privilege, is that like you're being offered a way to end this crisis and protect yourself and your friends and family and society at large, and you just be like, nah.
Oh, it's driving me nuts, just in the context of, I feel the people who are being like really hesitant with like, oh, I don't want to get the vaccine, I think it's been rushed, or all this sort of stuff. But then also when we have a lockdown like we are now, or all like, oh, fucking this is horse shit and my rights. It's like, you can't hate both. This sorry.
This is how we get out of this. Like,
this is what we live with if you're not going to get inoculated against the virus. Like, this is how we'll have to do it if it starts spreading and killing people left, right, and center. Like, we haven't had a huge spike in deaths, thank fuck. But, like, all these people, like, you know, which airline was it? It was like, we have to reopen. Yeah, people are going to die. Like, whatever. It's like, you either have to live with that reality or get the fucking vaccine.
Yeah, I don't know. It just stinks of like the ultimate privilege to be like, I don't want to get a vaccine because it makes me have fee-fees about it. But also, I want everything to go back to normal and I want all my money right. Like, it's like you can't.
It's that thing where I think, you know, and it's been that case for the whole pandemic. People aren't particularly good at thinking about the society at large and the social good of everyone being in it together.
We're all selfish
because of Western culture. We are very self-centered, generally speaking, and we're encouraged to be that way.
It just
trying to fight through that is very hard.
I don't know. Like, you think even just out of, and I guess now that's what we're seeing this week with the outbreak in Melbourne, is like, you think even just out of pure self-interest, people would be wanting to get the vaccine and sort of get this over with and not have to worry about masks and making sure that them and their family are safe. Like, you think people would want to do it just out of self-interest, if nothing else. And only now that self-interest is the main motivator, now that we've got an outbreak going, do you actually see people sort of flocking to get vaccinated and things like that? I don't know. It just seems like, meanwhile, all the millennials I know, are like, fuck it, give me the vaccine. Like, do you know anyone in our age range that's like, no?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm super keen for the vaccine. It's like, all right, if you're hesitant to take it,
great, give me yours
to me. I'll take it, and then I'll be great, and let's see how you go. If you're that hesitant, all right, put your money where your mouth is.
Like, don't you want this over? You know, like this is the only way that this becomes over, is if we all do get some sort of vaccination. So like, fucking let's get it going.
You've got a clip loaded up.
I do.
What's this? Is this the Sunrise bit?
Sunrise. So Channel 7 interviewing Greg Hunt over the things that he definitely said that have dissuaded people from getting the vaccine.
To Health Minister Greg Hunt, I questioned him about how Australia stacks up against vaccination rates around the world and whether we were falling behind because people were holding back because the government had said it wasn't a race. One of the reasons, Minister, they're saying wait is because you and the Prime Minister told them that. You said there's no rush. For weeks and weeks and weeks, you said there's no rush. We talked about it on this program.
That's false.
And it's not false. You said it on our program many times.
No, that's not something I have ever said.
your government and the Prime Minister was saying
that's not something I have ever said.
No rush, and so 50% of the people who won't get that vaccine in Australia are now saying there's no reason to. Well, here's some of Prime Minister Scott Morrison talking about the vaccine rollout not being a rush.
It's not a race. It's not a competition. It's not a race. You've got to get it right, and it's got to be safe. It's not a race. It's not a competition.
There you go. That's what we were talking about. And a lot of people, I think, nowadays are saying it's not a rush. We're in a safe country. The government has done a great job with COVID, so we're in a safe country. And I'm not planning on going overseas next week because we can't, so there's no rush. And that's where that seed was sown. A lot of people think that.
But what's happened there is you've got Greg Hunt driving a wedge between himself and the Prime Minister in terms of policy there. Was there a rush or wasn't there? And you think of all the Victorians in lockdown this morning, looking at this thinking, what is this squabble over? For goodness sake, just admit that the vaccine rollout isn't going all that well. We'll speed it up and get on with it.
Well, they're not saying that. Definitely, they're denying that. Now, we also spoke about the numbers of people who have been vaccinated. The government's figures say 3.9 million Australians have had a dose of the COVID vaccine. A dose, 1 or 2 shots. But as of this morning, just 2% have been fully vaccinated. That is 2 shots. Our rate of vaccination in Australia is about 2% of the population, though, isn't it? We are very low. You're sending
no, that's
100.
Not correct. It's 20% of the Australian adult population equivalent, 4 million out of 20 out of 20 million, and that's a huge Australian achievement.
So that's playing with the figures again, because only 2% have been fully vaccinated. So on the list of countries right around the world, we're going to show you the graph that shows where we are on the list around the world. So we have to scroll down past all these other countries, past Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, Jordan, Colombia, Kazakhstan, Equatorial Guinea, Tonga, Macau, Albania, El Salvador. And there we are right down that list. And there we are, 2% of our population have been fully vaccinated.
And the point...
I feel a little iffy about that last little bit there because, like, while yes, to say like, oh hey, like compared to other places, we're not doing well in terms of our rollout. Fair enough, but then just to be like, you know, Azerbaijan and all these places, like
shit countries,
holy shitholes, like pulling the full Trump of like these shithole places that we would expect to blow balls at doing this kind of stuff.
Equatorial Guinea, what a bunch of shit cunts! We're worse than these pricks.
Yeah, just like all these like backwards third world country places. Like, whoa, let's not. Whoa, like you're showing. That's the sunrise I know and remember.
We're worse than the fucking Laotians. You're gonna be fucking joking.
Like,
it's you know that you fucked up when the corporate media even goes after you as a government. You know what I mean? Like, if even
Sunrise is going, you fucked up.
Sunrise, whose specialty is underarm softball tournaments for the current LNP fucking government, you know, if they're going after you.
Yeah, the cash cow is a national treasure.
Mention the all else they're very, very adamant that Ben Roberts-Smith did nothing wrong because he works for them.
I don't know who that is.
That's the VC recipient that probably committed war crimes, but anyway.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Great.
Possibly. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So to me, that's pretty clear. When, you know, and Greg Hunt was so fucking arrogant on the show, being like, no, I didn't. That's false. I never said that. That's full of shit. You're full of shit. I hate this. I register my objection. No. Fuck you. No. Suck my dick. No.
He probably never said it directly, but Morrison's been saying it at least.
Okay,
so government...
But I mean, he's the one who said 10 days ago that if you don't like the AstraZeneca, don't worry, we got Pfizer on the way at the end of the year. That was 10 days ago he said that. So, like, when you say we're encouraging everyone to get vaccinated as soon as possible, but that but is real important.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a but.
There should be no buts.
There shouldn't be a but in there. It should just be get vaccinated. Finn. Just fucking do it.
So when you add a but at the end of that sentence and there's other things that are contingent on that, some people will rightly get the idea, as has been said to me by a number of individuals, no, we'll wait for the Pfizer. It's coming. So hopefully nothing bad happens between now and then. I guess.
And let alone, it's not even something bad that could happen to the individual who's waiting for the Pfizer. It's that you pass it to someone else and the bad thing happens to them.
Well, the other thing is like, there's no guarantee that you'll get Pfizer at the end of the year. Like, yes, there will be enough, according to the Australian government, according to their announceables, and we all know how reliable those are, that says, yes,
I can froth an announceable.
There'll be enough mRNA vaccines for every Australian at the end of the year, but that doesn't mean you're going to be first in line. If you've had 9 months to get vaccinated and you've chosen not to, and then we get supplies of Pfizer, like that's going to go to specific people first. You're not going to be at the front of the queue, in 7, 10 months, whenever it is. Like you're going to be after a bunch of key areas and key people. So I don't know. It just seems like criminally irresponsible. And why? Because they're afraid of a headline. They're afraid like one person out of the 20 million that get vaccinated, one person's going to get a blood clot, one person's going to die, and then it's going to look bad for the government. That's really what they're scared about, the headlines, if something goes wrong. More than they're worried about actually getting the country fucking vaccinated, which is like one of their 3 main responsibilities.
What are the other 2?
Aged care and... how they're doing with all of that, and finances, JobKeeper, all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, in the midst of a 7-day lockdown,
which they're not doing.
They're not extending JobKeeper. Yeah. They're not, the Victorian treasurer and the federal treasurer sat down together and they're going to work on a package together to help give Victorians some relief over the 7-day lockdown. And they've come away and they've said, basically, the federal government told us to go suck a fuck and you get nothing. You get nothing, good day, sir. I said good day. And so the Victorian government's had to basically completely out of its own pocket come up with a $250 million package for businesses to help support them over this lockdown period over this next week. But like state governments don't have the flexibility with finances that federal governments do. They can't just like issue new currency or whatever. Like their books need to balance. So
yeah, they can't just make money.
Yeah. Unlike the federal government who can just put it on the credit card and worry about it later. So basically, the federal government has said, no, there's no marginal seats there that we really need to worry about. Go fuck yourself, Victoria. Good luck.
Yeah.
See you next election season, you pricks. Some of you are going to vote for us. Go fuck yourself.
Hold that same logic if it was Queensland or another.
Exactly. Right? If there were some marginal seats, I bet you $1 trillion of money that I don't have that the government would borrow from itself, that they would absolutely be tipping some money into the kitty if it was somewhere where there was a bunch of marginal seats. Absolutely.
Well, and also it's also interesting how I wasn't really aware that the state could kind of have any control over, say, the vaccine rollout as well. Like they don't have full kind of control, but they did announce as part of this lockdown here in Victoria that they were expanding eligibility for the vaccine. Like they actually dropped into a 40 to 49 category for the ever desired Pfizer vaccine.
So, with any health thing, it is technically the state's responsibility. It's not a federal.
Yeah, but if the federal government is the one negotiating the doses and and the finances of the whole situation, it's essentially
is up to the states.
Yeah,
sure.
The federal government can give you the stock; they're the supplier, but the actual retailer, if you will, is the state government.
Yeah. So my point is, do you think I could pass for 40?
You're gonna put the photo
and
up?
If not, what will I have to do to pass for 40? I already tried a sneaky Instagram filter. I don't know if I can get it to work in real life. I don't think the technology's there yet.
I was going to say grow a beard, but I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, no, I don't think that'll work. I think we're going to have to take other avenues. Are there like personality changes I should maybe just try to have while I'm in the queue?
Just complain about taxes being too high, capital gains taxes, dividend cash imputations.
Should I maybe be
definitely take off the RMIT university jumper?
Yeah, the RMIT hoodie. Yes, no, that. Should
no
I maybe
t-shirts
just,
with any funny things, any funny sayings or cartoons on them.
Well, it's why I thought no. But what if like I'm in the queue and I'm just being like, oh, how great was the premiere of The Empire Strikes Back? Like that was a fun time when I
saw it in the cinema.
6 weeks old. Back that far. Like, yeah, when I saw that in the cinema, that was awesome. And that Indiana Jones, woo! Like, I don't know.
What a smoke show. loved seeing that in the cinema when it came out.
Oh yeah, so good,
1988.
so good. Yeah. When petrol cost, and then I won't be able to answer that, and they'll be like, "Get out!" I'm like, fuck. You know. Yeah. When's your birthday? May 18th. What year? Fuck.
Every year.
Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Well, anyway, gentlemen, it could be worse. It could be worse. We could be living in a genuine dictatorship, and there are many out there. An example of this week, which I just happened to have prepared earlier.
Here's one you prepared earlier, yep.
Is Belarus, which technically isn't a dictatorship, but it kind of is a dictatorship.
It's a dictatorship.
Those technically not dictatorships. They're like, you've hit the sweet spot there.
The Democratic Republic of the blah, blah. Yeah, so Alexander Lukashenko is their president.
Known as Europe's last dictator, which I think is ambitious.
Yeah.
Europe's last dictator thus far. Like, as far as, I don't know, things seem to be trending in a pretty dictatory fucking direction of late. I wouldn't be so fucking certain that it's definitely the last one. The last one, you know, that looks like the Nutcracker or something like that. You know, like we need to narrow down the parameters of what
maybe the last one with that glorious a mustache.
He's been in power for, what was it, 26 years?
Basically since the fall of the Soviet Union, pretty much, or thereafter.
If the way we measure the length of your tenure as the head of government is in fractions of a century, you've probably been there too long, and you're probably a dictator, right? And he's famous for, like, the EU said the last round of elections was not free and fair. You know, there were massive sort of riots at the time. You know, sort of
late
protesting,
2020.
you know, saying that it wasn't a legitimate election. And one of the people who was sort of advocating those protests was a journalist. Now, this journalist this week, Roman Protasevich, is a 26-year-old journalist, and he runs this app that a lot of these protests were organized on. And he's obviously been a critic of the government. He was flying over Belarus, and Belarus called in a fake bomb threat on this plane, forced it to land in Minsk, and then pulled this guy off the plane and arrested him. And
one does.
Obviously, there was no bomb on the plane. The whole thing was a ruse. They say, in all the reporting, they're saying like, oh, the plane was grounded, or it was like illegally grounded or something like that. I'm like, we're talking about a hijacking and a kidnapping. Like, they hijacked a plane.
A MiG-29 fighter jet to intercept it.
They scrambled a fighter jet to, like, I guess their threat was to shoot down the commercial airliner with hundreds of people on board, most of the vast majority of which were not Roman Protasevich. I
got it right. How am I getting this right?
I don't know. I'm trying to do it on the fly. Look, I've been grounded by the Belarusian air control.
It's funny, they released the cockpit recording of the pilots. And even the pilot's like, so what's wrong? They're like, oh, there's a bomb on the plane. He's like, can you give me like any more specifics? They're like, nah, not really. Just land the plane. And he's like, well, I guess I better land the plane. Oh, look, there's a fighter jet outside. I bet
it's like, I guess I'd better land the plane because that guy has a fucking fighter jet and I'm a commercial plane.
Evasive maneuvers. Just kind of like tilts leftward.
Just like, slowly tilts towards Minsk.
It's funny because since this happened, since he was arrested, they don't know where he is, by the way. No one's got any idea. And this has been a repeated thing since the 2020 elections and the protests that rose up after that. People have just been taken off the streets and disappeared. And this guy...
And in Eastern European governments, which are totally democracies, people are disappeared all the time. That's normal democracy stuff that happens.
Yeah, do you ever notice that stuff like that happens a lot in countries that in their very name they say they're democratic republics?
They have to convince themselves. But he has released a statement, or the government released a statement
hostage video,
him basically saying, "Oh yeah, no, I'm really sorry, bro."
I definitely did
and
all the terrorism.
His girlfriend was also arrested, by the way. She's done nothing wrong.
Well, neither is he, by the way. Just to be clear,
neither is he.
He's a journalist. Like, yes, he's a democracy advocate, but like he hasn't done anything wrong either. The fact that any of this has happened is fucking abhorrent. And obviously, this hostage video has come out with him admitting to his crimes, quote unquote. And also like looking very much worse for wear as well. So clearly in this photo, he's been beaten up to some degree. Like he looks tired. He looks sort of, sort of got scuffs and marks all over his face. People reckon that, he's got makeup covering bruises and things like that. And when you compare him to other photos of him, he really doesn't look like himself. His dad reckons his nose has been broken because it's at a weird sort of angle and there's some sort of weird shading going on there. Like, the guy has clearly been through some sort of ordeal with these police before making this statement. So recently Joe Biden's administration has announced targeted sanctions against the, key players in the Belarusian government. And it's becoming quite the international incident. But like, it just seems so like brazen, like to ground, like it's fucking crazy. The idea that you could be flying over a country. It's not like he was in the country. It's not like he went to the country and visited or like, was there to get sources. He was like out of the country going from Athens to wherever he was going to, over Belarus, and they grounded the plane in this like pretty small window. So it's like, this sounds obviously like quite premeditated. I don't know. It just seems like it's not even a thing that I would have thought could happen.
Well, the reason is because he's got Russia's backing. So
sure.
Russia, obviously, Belarus is a former Soviet state, and there is a union of sorts that still exists between Belarus. In fact, it's kind of weird. Early in 2020, there were tensions between Russia and Belarus because Lukashenko publicly accused Putin of wanting to take over Belarus, which is still kind of the case. But in this case here, they've backed them in.
Yeah.
So obviously, being Europe's last dictatorship, Russia sees Belarus as sort of a a buffer against NATO and the European Union. So
it's tricky because like obviously NATO and the EU kind of like, they don't want to isolate Belarus too much because otherwise it'll push them into the arms of
Moscow,
Russia.
Right? Yeah.
So, it's just, you're trying to target sanctions. You want to isolate them. You want to make them feel the pain, but not so much as to actually like completely drive them away. It seems as though they're working like fairly hand in glove with Putin by the looks of it. So
it's been a weird week this week for like dictatorships. Like there's a coup. There's been a coup inside a coup in Mali. Like they overthrew the leader.
A Russian nesting coup, if you will.
The military overthrew the leader like last year. Then they installed this other guy, and they were like, he's going to lead the provisional government until we can go to fresh elections. Anyways, this new guy was like, cool, I want to get my cabinet sorted out. And the military were like, you have to have these two guys from the military in your cabinet. And he was like, I'm not going to have them in my cabinet. Announced his new cabinet. The military was like, fuck you, and just basically threw another coup and then ousted that guy.
Musical chairs.
Anyway, so France, who has 4,000 like soldiers trying to fight, ISIS and stuff, or ISIS-related militants, affiliated militants in Mali, are like, can we have some consistency? Otherwise, we're going to have to pull the troops out. And in Samoa, in the Pacific, there was an election, and then it was split, obviously. So but then one of the person who received a large proportion of the votes basically got a guarantee from an independent that they'd be able to pass supply. So they were basically the government. But the existing government was like, oh no, you can't. It's not constitutional, and they're trying to launch appeals in the court. And they literally blocked. There's a thing in the Samoan constitution which is like you have to swear in the government inside Parliament. So then the provisional government they just locked the door.
They just locked her out. Like, sorry, sweetheart, door's locked. Suck eggs.
So then they had to do it in the front lawn or something, and now they're arguing in the courts that it's not constitutional because they did it on the front lawn, so therefore it's not valid.
Well, is it constitutional for them to change the locks?
This is also a guy that's been in power for like 20 years or something stupid like that. Like, anyway,
it is one of those things where it's like it borders on like comical and absurd when you see it in other countries because it makes them look like fucking Banana Republic, absurd, ridiculous parodies of themselves, right? But also, like, you have to remember that that's nearly what happened in America on January 6th of this year, like 5 months ago, was like nearly a situation where they weren't able to swear in the duly elected fucking guy who obviously just got elected because, like, you go, oh, it can't happen here. It couldn't possibly happen in the United States. The Supreme Court, they wouldn't allow it. There's no possible way. It's just like, it's the same shit on a grander scale. It nearly happened in the world's, most powerful democracy. And yet
in Australia, we have the national sport of leadership spills as well. So, when we probably can't talk.
By gar, it's been a while.
National pastime. I think Albo is probably due for a bit of a stabby
stab.
Yeah. Although apparently now when they stab him, they've also got to go to
I think either don't 2/3 need to agree to stab.
Basically, there's got to be a stabbing percentage.
Yeah, and also they have to publicly consult. I say publicly, I mean like member consult, beyond elected officials, like
members.
Like the people who have joined the Labor Party who aren't necessarily politicians need to also agree to the stabby stab.
It's
there's no reason why they can't just change the rules and go back to stabbing each other.
I think William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar would have gone slightly differently if they needed a 2/3 majority in order to stick the knife in. Et tu, Brute? Yes, me as well as a supermajority of the Senate. We took a vote, and obviously, barring any sort of external clauses, we're going to just go ahead and stab you if that's all right, Julius.
Yeah. We took a vote, and it was unanimously decided that there were not enough knives in your back.
Yeah, we did had to do a bit of horse trading. Obviously, we gave them the vote on the submarines contract, but
distinct lack of knives.
Yeah, a couple of earmarks for various pork barreling, but once we all sort of got around it, and it's remarkable what you can achieve with a bit of bipartisanship, just acting in good faith, negotiating, trying to help your constituents, eventually. Anyway, so you're dead. But cheers.
Yeah,
cheers
you're
for
dead.
that.
None of this matters to you, but this is actually...
Yeah, you won't be around to see it because you'll be dead. But cheers. Anyway, all the best.
That version of Julius, which Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, it sounds riveting. Like I think I'd watch that.
Riveting?
Yeah. Like an episode of Utopia.
It does like $14 million, and I'll turn it into like a Cursed Child-esque spectacular, and we'll be good to go.
It does turn it from a 5-hour play to a 6-hour play, but you got to give the people what they want. It's all about the consistent content.
Yeah, the extra hour set in Ibiza is totally essential. Can't cut it.
Yeah, no, that is a hill I will die on.
Yeah.
Despite all this happening this week, this is all this week, by the way. That's not the worst thing that's happened this week. Arguably, the worst thing that happened is the body of a man that was found inside a Spanish dinosaur.
No. Do we have to talk about this?
Yeah,
this story makes my skin crawl.
To be clear, it's a paper mache dinosaur statue.
Like a life-size stegosaurus.
Yeah. It wasn't whether or not the dinosaur was a real living, breathing dinosaur that made me squeamish about this story. It's
the way, Tom. So no. I don't know how they found him, but like,
well, it was a man and his son were walking past, and they're like, "What's going on in that dinosaur leg?" And it's that opening scene of dun 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 dun. Dun. The joggers are going past. They go, "Hey, what's going on there? Oh my god, is that a leg sticking out of the bush?"
That's so fucking awful and traumatic.
So he's apparently he somehow got, for whatever reason got in there. Some people have hypothesized that he somehow got his phone stuck in the dinosaur, which leads
I'm assuming
why was he on the dinosaur in the first place with his phone?
I don't know, maybe taking selfies while riding a fake Stegosaurus at him. Like, he's got to do it for the gram.
His phone, went into the dinosaur apparently, and he went down and he got inside the leg, and then became stuck. They think. And has been in there for at least several days.
Like, my anxiety's great right now if you're curious.
You're the one who was likes caving and stuff. Like, how's this setting you up?
Oh, well, I mean,
paper mache. Couldn't he just knock himself out?
Hold on, Tom. You like caving?
I don't mind caving. It's fun.
How is that
I've done caving before.
Than dying in the leg of a paper mache dinosaur? To me, those things are
because I'm not one of those people who likes to go caving where it's only the width of your shoulders. Like I've walked through caves and it's been cool. But okay, let me tell you a story, George. Because all right, you died in a stegosaurus. It's fucked.
What have I just signed up for here?
No, I went caving once, and not like caving in the more touristy sort of way where they've got metal walkways and stuff like that. Like it was
that's not caving, legit, by the way. That's just a hike indoors.
Yeah, whilst this was a legit cave in the sense of like it hadn't been kitted out for safety reasons, but it was still a more wide open space, the occasional tight squeeze through a gap, and then you're good, right? So, and it was awesome. Caves are great, but there was a point when I must have been about, I think I was 13, maybe 14 at the time. And they said, all right, so we're now, the people leading us were like, all right, so now we're going to go on the next little bit. You got to crawl. We're going to have to crawl through this tight space and come in and climb out into the next room, cavern, whatever. And me, being an excited little teenager I was like, I'll go first. And they said, all right, it'll be a tight fit, but then you'll get into the next room. So I went, okay. And we're all wearing helmets at this point. That's important for the story. Like, we're wearing helmets because it's caving. And so I went, okay. And I started crawling. And it was tight. Like, we're talking maybe, it started off being about 0.5 meter from floor to ceiling, but a wide open space. But it was about 0.5 meter. So crawling on out, we're like doing like, prone crawling.
Don't love
and
this.
Crawling and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter the further in I get. And I got to a point where I was a bit like, how far is it? And they're like, it's all right. You have to just go through the tight spot and then you'll be able to stand up once you get beyond it. You'll be in another room. And I kept prone crawling. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter until I kind of had to like turn my head sideways. It was getting so tight. And then my helmet got stuck between the floor and the ceiling. That's how tight it was. And I was like, I can't move. And there's all these people crawling behind me, following the lead. So I'm like, I am stuck. I think it's the first panic attack I've ever had.
Yeah.
I was like, I am stuck here. I can't keep going. And my brother, thankfully, was with me. So he like got to the edge and he was like, okay, hey, everyone, Tom's stuck. Pile back out, like everyone back up. So I had to be waiting there, my head wedged between the ceiling and the floor. And my brother, I know he was trying to like help, but it didn't help because he just said, like, he was just trying to talk to me to like just, keep me engaged while everyone's backing out behind me. And he was like, man, can you imagine how much weight is like resting on our heads right now? Like from the ceiling above. And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that, Jack. Thanks, man. He would have been like 17 at the time. And then we eventually crawled back out and discovered that they'd lied to me at the start, that this was an area of the cave that they called the sardine can.
No.
The purpose of this was they like to see how many people they can fit in
Fuck
it at
off.
once.
Stop it.
And they did not tell me that.
Why?
Fuck, that sounds like a coronial inquest kind of situation.
Oh my God.
People wouldn't have willingly probably done it.
These people need to be investigated, Tom. This is what?
Is that a professional caving company?
What?
It
was Bob's Caving.
No,
Speedy
it was while I was
caving with featuring Pete.
It was while I was in the Scouts, so I don't know who was. I don't think it was like you've done caving tours. Like we knew there was a cave spot, and maybe it was like the rovers or whatever. Like the 18-year-olds who were like, let's stick everyone in the sardine can.
Very not okay.
No. But the point is, that kind of caving can get fucked. Regular caving, that's fun. Here ended my caving story. I apologize to anyone whose claustrophobia kind of got indirectly triggered by my
I don't know if I'm claustrophobic, but I feel like I am now. I think I just caught it through the
if you imagine that,
eating.
George, imagine Tom's experience, but inside a paper mache dinosaur leg.
And also, I'm imagining he was upside down.
Well, he went head first, apparently.
Yes, because if he dropped his phone, I imagine it landed in the foot of the stegosaur. So he crawled head first downwards to try and reach it, got stuck, and presumably just starved? I don't know. Like,
you don't starve in 2 days.
You could have cut blood flow off, perhaps. If the blood's rushing to his head, he could, you know. The thing that I'm confused about, really, is, like, how did he get into the dinosaur? Is there a hatch or something?
Maybe the top is open. Like maybe there's a gap. Unsafe. Or he punched his way in from the top. I don't know.
If he can punch his way in, how come he can't punch his way out?
I don't know. There's a lot of like, silly man jokes we can make, but also a guy died in a really claustrophobic, scary way that is like made me really cringe.
It literally seems did you guys ever watch that show 6 Feet Under on HBO?
Bits and pieces, I think, for like film studies or whatever.
6 Feet Under was a show where it's like a family of morticians. It's a family business. And at the start of every episode, they would have a client come in. Was that 6 Feet Under or was that Dead Like Me?
No, I think 6 Feet Under.
Was it 6 Feet Under? And like at the start of every episode, you'd have someone who like died in a weird way, doing something unexpected. And one I remember was like just getting caught in like an industrial sort of blender type situation. Like, you know, sort of lots of like accidents and people just dying in funny, weird ways. And this is literally what it made me think of. It's just like the guy, he's on the Stegosaurus, he's taking a selfie. I hope it was a good phone. I hope it was an iPhone 12. I hope it was worth it. Like, drops the phone into the lake. He goes, "That's all right. I'll just fish it out. Go on, pizza boy, fish it out. Don't say fish." And then he jumps and he goes in head first. I hope he died instantly. That's what I hope for this guy, is that he just died immediately. It was painless. There was no like worry. He just broke his neck and it was in one fell swoop and he's just dead. That's what I hope for him. But it seems like he might have
pictures of this dinosaur.
I found some pictures. I found some other angles of it. I don't know how. I don't understand
how they got in it.
I don't know how we got in it. It doesn't look like there's any obvious openings.
Yes. Anyway, the point is, it's really awful and terrifying.
But the headline is great.
Art is meant to challenge, Tom. Challenge you to stop breathing.
The headline...
Jesus, George.
What was the headline again? Or is it Missing Man Found Dead Inside Spanish Dinosaur Statue? That headline just took my breath away.
It writes itself. His and yours.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
On that note...
Don't go... If you drop your phone...
Let it go.
Into a papier-mâché dinosaur.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Just alert the authorities. Maybe someone will be able to get it out for you. Obviously, you won't be able to call anyone because you've lost your phone. But this guy's family reported him missing after 2 days, and they found the body like shortly thereafter. Why?
It could be the mafia. I mean, it could be an inside job.
Hey, nice Stegosaurus. Be a shame if something happened to it.
What are you saying, Adam, that maybe this story was, instead of like rolling him in a carpet and throwing him off a bridge, they just were like, to hide a body as part of a mafia hit, they just stuffed it in the Stegosaurus statue.
Hey, Paulie. You know, sometimes it gets a bit old. You know, stuffing body, rolling him up in rugs and throwing him in the river. It's good. It's my life's work, Paulie. But sometimes I need to add a little spice, a little variety. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't this happen in Spain?
I mean, I'm sure there's a Spanish mafia or some sort of...
Yeah, but not whatever accent George is doing.
It's Brooklyn. Brooklyn like, gangsters in Spain is what you're saying.
Like New Jersey, Italian, Sopranos kind of stuff.
Fernando! It's me, Juan!
Yeah, gonna get my gabagool.
Sorry? My gabagool. I'll have some gabagool, please. One gabagool. On that note,
have some bloody gabagool, mate. Can I have some gabagool? Me, a very white man.
One gabagool for the young gentleman over there, who's definitely not old enough for a vaccine. On that note, we have been and we are and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us on our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that are ruining the world, that have, do, or ever will exist. at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and motherfucking TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at George Sipos.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom D. Heath.
You can follow me on Instagram at AC Dream.
And you can follow us all down to Catalonia, where we'll be chucking out that Stegosaurus. So can't help any. It's basically an idiot fly trap. So we gotta get it out of there. Make sure it doesn't hurt anyone else. R.I.P. that guy. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.
I mean, some might say that it's natural selection.
A man died, Adam.
Yep. Okay.
Bit of respect. Thanks.
Making a through line back to the name of the show, which is Unnatural Selection.
It's the name of the thing. Yep. Got it.
Yeah. It's like, keep dancing, Tom.
You mentioned TikTok. I am flossing.
Oh,
it's hard to floss sitting down.
Oh, God. You make me feel sick sometimes, honestly. I hate you so much.